It's so simple and easy.
Steven was in a trade, okay? He's in a trade doing his normal thing, but he's sitting up at a podium and there's 120 people in the audience. And he could see his STT up on the huge screen, right? Well, every time the stock starts going up, the audience starts going, they're freaking out. And he's like, it's okay. But we were definitely quiet. We were just rooting for you.
Drive all the way down from my house to fucking here to have a haircut. I'm not lying, so you got your people.
I didn't know if you were looking at photos.
So, what do you guys like about the Mastermind?
I mean, I think it's a good environment to interact with other traders that have a similar focus in terms of strategy and technique, and also going through some of the same learning pains and challenges, right? So when you hear other people's experience, it gives you a little bit more comfort that you know, there's a certain path to the end game.
Everybody can do that.
Right, exactly.
I really like how Mastermind, you kind of get that like closer, smaller group. It's almost similar to like a one-on-one session, and you get a little more attention, and if you have more detailed questions, then you can get a more detailed answer. And it's not like, I mean, the tier 3 challenge already provides lots of information, but the Mastermind, it gives you a chance to answer some questions that sometimes you might not be able to ask as detailed in the tier 3 challenge, just because there's so many details behind it. It's really hard to explain.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what he was saying, you have, first of all, you get a lot of intelligent questions because you're in a group of people that are very serious about learning this craft. And then you have the opportunity to ask Steven to repeat or dig deeper on the subtle details of the patterns that he trades, and, you know, learn just a much higher level.
What do you don't like about the Mastermind?
But it's only 2 days. We need another day.
Yeah, agreed. maybe another live trade too.
Too short?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's too short, but it's kind of like a timing thing in the sense that you got to come prepared at first, right? So you can ask the right questions, but then also at the same time, you know, getting that live exposure to watch Steve trading, it also depends on what's going on in the market that during the period that you're here, right? So it's kind of like a hit or miss from that standpoint.
Yeah. From a live trade standpoint, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yep. What do you think can be improved?
No hurricanes.
No hurricanes. No, I think the idea that I'm posting right there, that, for example, we're going over the questions once we get here. So maybe a good idea would be just to, before getting here, ask with an email what are possible questions that give time to Steven to read beforehand, prepare, and then he will focus on those questions. This doesn't mean that we cannot do additional questions, but at least it will flow better for him. Yeah. Because sometimes we're kind of thinking of next question, but if we can think about those questions before and send them before the time, I think that will give him more time to prepare. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, from improvement from my perspective, I would say I can be better prepared coming into the next Mastermind. Now that I have an idea of how it works, I can prepare myself better. And from your perspective, I think the only thing I might say is we could slow you down a little bit in the explanations, although it's no problem to ask you to repeat it, which you did many times, mostly for me. But yeah, just slowing down on the more advanced concepts.
So I want to piggyback on that actually. So it would be great for us to provide the questions before, but we don't know what we don't know as well. So based on your experience with your students, maybe you can even highlight some areas before the meeting, send it to us saying, hey guys, which one of these do you think we should dig deeper during our session?
Yeah.
additional to the questions that we come up with.
Yeah. Alright, so what did you learn?
It's a lot of statistics.
One of my favorite things I learned, something I didn't know about, was what you just talked about today about the double layer resistance, how in the situation where overwhelming volume could still crack down,
Yeah.
which I didn't know about because that particular ticker that recently happened, that was a bounce short. I kind of stopped out of it because I saw that the volume was being overwhelming the resistance.
Yeah.
But you traded it, and I didn't really understand why until you just explained it because of the, the previous volume and the.
Certain ratio.
Yeah, exactly. That's something I didn't know. I knew double layer resistance, but that detail was great.
Alright,
That's the only thing you learned? Nobody has any add-ons?
Too many things to explain.
What we learned.
Yeah.
yeah, so many concepts.
Well, we got some good detailed information on statistics, and just intricacies of the patterns. I have a ton of notes that I need to review, so it's hard to just regurgitate everything, but I have a framework of notes that's going to improve my trading and improve my questions to bring next Mastermind.
Yeah, and I think one of the great points of coming to these masterminds, the network. The network is priceless. Network is even with David, with all the different people in here, just putting the face behind the name in the chat room. It is worth it. It's worth $1,000,000. Meeting Silver for the first time, I was like, "Oh, you're Silver," So, but now I know that we got the network to make those questions to each other and get closer. This is a one-man's game, right? You're in your house by yourself, training by yourself. Having other people in the network to run questions or something like that, I think that's a great value that you get in here too.
Yeah, socially, there are a couple people that I'm very close to that I've never met in person that I met in the room here. So that was amazing. It was great from a social aspect.
Just to add on, learning not only from Ducks but from each other, especially like some of the new tools they use that I never heard of, and just hearing everybody's story, kind of with their own experience, really kind of, inspires and kind of morally supports you to keep going. Especially hearing, David's loss makes my losses seem like nothing. So
Now everybody believes me what a bad trader I am.
I agree with that too. I mean, I love hearing everybody's stories and how they got where they are, and the same mistakes that everyone else makes that I've also made myself. And it's almost like when you're trading by yourself and run the computer, it's like it's a lonely career. You're always by yourself, and sometimes you feel down because the patterns are just constantly failing. But that's just how the statistics plays out sometimes. And when you listen to other people that they also sometimes make similar mistakes, then you can just bounce off of each other and learn from their mistakes as well.
Yeah. The more mistakes you learn, the less mistakes you will make. So. Yeah. All right, that's it.
And it's back up to 925.
How much is it now?
that's my
18 million shares. It's right on track for